Hey there, and welcome to Extra Healthy-ish, the big sister podcast to Healthy-ish. Both podcasts from Body+Soul are designed to give you that little bit extra in your day. I am your host, Felicity Harley, and today via Zoom is someone who is keen to whip your butt into shape. Yes, if you've chosen to be lazy during lockdown, haven't we all? Or perhaps you're not in lockdown and you've just hibernated in winter, I get it. Well, he is here to tell you where a rapid body transformation can start. Chief Brabon is my guest. He's had over 30 years experience. He actually launched the original boot camp in Australia. And he specialises in, well, celebrity transformations, really. Him and his wife, Emily, she's a nutrition coach. They are responsible for transforming the bodies of people like Sebastian, Osher, Günsberg and Roger Corser. So the Chief is going to tell us exactly how to transform your body in just 8 weeks. Chief, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish. Now, tell me, how do you stay extra healthy-ish in, well, lockdown?
So I've been pretty lucky throughout this whole process that I live with my training buddy, who happens to be my wife.
That's handy.
So it makes life very easy. So we get out and we train every day. She, trains obsessively in regards to her discipline is incredibly high. We're both, former ultramarathon runners. So we get out and we tend to just get out and run a lot of the time, in some beautiful spots. Like we'll head to the beach today, run soft sand, or we'll go and run through the local bush landing, things like that. So that's how we get that side of our training done every day. But I've also been very lucky that, throughout this process, I've started teaching through Zoom with my normal boot camp clients. So I do a bodyweight boot camp every morning. So my day starts with, 30 to 45 minutes of intensive exercise straight away because I do everything with my group. So for me, it's just being able to lock those times in to spend on myself and on my own health and well-being, and to just make sure that I continue moving throughout this whole process.
But you really do have the perfect cheerleader, don't you, having a wife there who's like, come on, let's get it, let's go, let's go.
She's so inspirational it makes, because we love to do the same type of training as well, because we're both runners, that to head out somewhere beautiful, to grind away and get like a tough session done together, and neither of us ever quit in front of each other. So,
it's competitive, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, we're talking rapid transformation today, particularly, many listeners are probably stuck in lockdown, or if not, have come out of winter, and we're all looking, to just feel better, I suppose, and which in turn, you look better. So I want to get to the nitty-gritty of what we can do at home. But firstly, can you talk me through your whole concept of rapid results and, when is this and why is it important?
So rapid transformation coaching, or rapid transformation training even, the whole concept is to try and set yourself a specific period of time to achieve a specific goal. So we tend to tell people to look sort of aimed for 8 to 12 weeks, depending on how far away your goal might be in regards to how much fat loss you're trying to achieve, or muscle gain, or whatever your personal transformation might be. To really set a line in the sand as in this is when I want to achieve that goal by, and try to use something as a carrot, I suppose, at the end of that. So I want to be in, this shape to be able to put on a bikini before I go to my first holiday in Fiji in 2 years.
No, don't say that. January, we hope.
In January. No, it's been almost, it would have been almost 2 years for most people.
That's
true. But it's that idea of, having something at the end that you really want to be at your best by then. It might even just be catching up with family for the first time since all this began. It might just being able to go for a holiday to Tasmania and you want to hike for 3 days, and that after sitting on your butt for all these months, you're really probably not going to be able to get through much each day unless you get up and move now. So it's about finding a specific goal, setting a very strict period of time to achieve it in, and to see really, really obvious results very quickly. That's the number one driving force behind rapid transformations.
So how do we see results quickly? Does it come down to, I suppose a bit of everything, cardio, nutrition, but let's start with cardio. What what should our week look like with cardio? And perhaps if you're a beginner versus if you're, you actually do work out now.
So we use a very specific style of training that actually combines our cardiovascular training with our strength training. And the reason we do that is we want to actually target both elements of our fitness as many times throughout the week as possible. So we don't tell you to train every single day, but sort of 5 to 6 times a week. You really want to be training both your cardiovascular fitness as well as your increasing your lean muscle mass, because they're both driving forces to achieve what most people want, which is fat loss. So the majority of people that are looking to achieve a goal right now, the vast majority is fat loss is one of them, if not the actual most important one for them. So we need to increase our metabolism. The way that we increase our metabolism is actually to increase our lean muscle mass. Now, that doesn't mean bulking, so don't get afraid of that idea that, I'm going to bulk up, I'm going to look, for women looking masculine or anything like that. It's just increasing, your actual athleticism. So we need to do that every day. We need to move weight, and our weight could just be our body. And then we want to get our heart rate up every day as well. So by doing, short workouts, nothing more than around 45 minutes of high intensity interval training. We all know that word now. It's been around for a number of years. So short bursts of cardiovascular exercise, and actually mix it in with our strength training. So while we're recovering from our strength work, we do our cardio. When we're recovering from our cardio, we do our strength work. In 45 minutes, we've actually worked both aspects of our fitness. And that's how we get really rapid results. That means every single day we're working both parts of our fitness that are really going to improve our athleticism and our body composition.
What about if we're at home, what about if we say go for a run, and then how do we kind of weave in the strength training if, I want to go for a 4K run or something?
So if you want to go for a run, you want to look at that as sort of being ancillary training. So that's like when we say to people, like, you want to be getting 10,000 steps a day, and that's something that we're striving for, is to get 10,000 steps of basic movement each day. When you're going for a run, a lot of the time we go for a run because we actually enjoy it, and it's usually a mindset element as well. We either want to be better at running, or we want to just have that break from everything else that's happening in our life, get out of the house, get out somewhere else and move. So I consider that ancillary training. So if you're going out for a run each day, that's not your actual training specific to your goal.
Okay.
If your goal is to change your body composition, if you want to drop body fat, we don't lose a lot of body fat through running. We burn more body fat through increasing our metabolism and then sitting down and doing our work throughout the entire day. So if you love running, and I love running, I still do it no matter what. But if I want to dramatically change my actual body composition, I know that's done with resistance training and high-intensity interval training. And it can be as simple as jumping jacks and things like that we just done in the lounge room.
Yes.
You don't have to go and get on a treadmill and have, an assault bike and all those sorts of things. You can do it all with pure body weight, but it's just about being specific to what training you're doing to achieve your goal versus what training you're doing because you really love it.
Yeah, good. That's actually cleared up a few things for me, because I always wondered, hang on, but if you go for a run or if you go for a ride or if you go for a swim, is that really going to help with your transformation? But no, you have to be out there in your backyard doing a burpee or whatever it may be.
That's exactly right. It's the same for training and nutrition, where there's a difference between being healthy or healthy-ish
I like that.
That idea that, like, we have, clients come to us, great example being, Roger Corso, who he came to us and he's, extremely healthy. Like, his wife, Renee, makes sure that the entire family eats extremely healthy. But that's not the same as eating for a goal, eating to achieve a specific result. So we changed the way he ate to achieve a goal that he was, trying to achieve within a very specific period of time. He was active. He got out and he moved, and he would do, running with the kids, being very active with the kids. But again, it wasn't specific to his goal. And so we had to change the way he moved, change the way he ate till he achieved that goal. And then he went back to being healthy in regards to his nutrition and his movement, and he could maintain it.
What about nutrition? I mean, how, and perhaps with Roger as an example, how did you switch it up so he could get that rapid transformation?
So again, the benefits of having an in-house partner who balances out everything that we do. My wife, Emily, is actually a nutrition coach, and so she creates all the nutrition programs specific to each of our clients. But again, just going back to being quite generalised in regards to reducing body fat, increasing lean muscle mass, Emily gets most of our clientele to go on a low carbohydrate, exceptionally low sugar nutrition program, increasing the amount of protein and the amount of fibre in our diets, so that our body wants to use our stored body fat for energy as opposed to using the very easily burnt carbohydrates that we put into our body every day. So, showing my age, years ago,
you and me both.
Cars used to have, very old now. Years ago, cars used to have what we called a reserve tank. So if you ran out of petrol, your car would automatically go to the reserve tank of petrol to use it to make sure that you got to where you were going to the next service station, whatever it might be. So our body fat is our reserve tank. There's absolutely no need to use our body fat for energy if we are putting so much energy into our body through carbohydrates and sugar each day. So if we keep putting that energy into our body through that format, we're never going to need to use the fat we're storing. So by dramatically decreasing the carbohydrates and in particular sugars and alcohol into our diet, we suddenly use our body fat as part of our process of energizing our body throughout the day. So getting rid of our complex carbohydrates. So I know it sounds awful, particularly if you grew up like I did in a mixed nationality household where, having rice and pasta and things like that were mainstays of our diet. But replacing things like pasta with low carbohydrate options like soybean pastas, which I absolutely love, or konjac noodles if you're having Asian-based foods like pho and things like that, you are now taking out that energy flow into your body that is external. And you're like, well, okay, if I'm going to be doing all this great exercise each day, I'm going to find that energy from what I'm already storing in my body, which is that body fat that we're trying to get through.
What about mindset? I mean, what makes a success story different from, say, a failure?
It really still comes down to the two things that you brought up already. One is seeing results, so rapid results. There's a fantastic study by Melbourne University, actually, a major international study that was done that compared individuals who are going through a rapid fat loss program versus the traditional sort of gradual fat loss. And for years we were told, gradual fat loss is going to be more beneficial. So the way they judged the success of this program was how many of those individuals actually achieved their end goal. So the goal of this particular program was to get down to 12.5% body fat. Now, of those people who were going through gradual fat loss, only 50% of them ever achieved their goal. But those who went through rapid fat loss 81% of them achieved their actual end goal. That's a massive difference. And the study found that there was for two reasons. One is by having a nutrition program that achieves rapid fat loss, similar to what I've just told you with markedly reducing our carbohydrate intake and sugar intake, we become more satiated, meaning we don't need to eat as much food. Like we all know what it's like. We all have a big bowl of pasta. We feel like we're comatose for the next hour, because it's literally dragged us down into this sort of, carbohydrate coma.
Yes, I love that word.
Literally. Yeah. But then an hour to two later, we're dramatically hungry again. And that's because our insulin levels have rebounded because of what we're now put into our body. Whereas when we dramatically reduce our carbohydrates and our sugar in our diet, we actually don't get that insulin rebound again. So we don't feel hungry for hours later. So that's the number one reason they found. But the second thing was, and this is the one that I can absolutely attest to in regards to our clientele, if you see really dramatic results in the first 2 weeks of your training program and your nutrition program, people are walking up to you going, what the hell are you doing after 2 weeks? And you're like, well, if I'm seeing this and hearing this now, where am I going to be in 8 weeks? And so you now are so motivated. You have such what we call momentum, mental and emotional momentum, that you're like, I'm already here in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to be amazing in 8 weeks' time. Yeah. And they actually are. Like, people are like, as much as we talk about that internal motivation, when people are literally walking up to you and saying, what the hell is going on? You look amazing. And you're there in it could be middle of winter with 3 layers of clothing on. Or great example, when Roger Corso, it's just because we mentioned him earlier, turned up to the Actor Awards, and Dave Campbell's like, dude, what's going on? And Roger's like, I'm wearing a 3-piece suit. How can you even tell? But that external positive
validation,
feedback,
isn't it?
Really, exactly right. That validation, we can't help it. It drives us all forward.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling that and hearing that and seeing that within the first 2 weeks, imagine where you're going to be in 8 or 12 weeks down the road.
And what about, 12 weeks down the road? How can we sustain it when we have got this amazing new, feeling and physique?
The key to it is, by the time, from a training perspective, you'll find by the time you get to sort of 6 to 8 weeks, it's now a part of your day and a part of your life. And if anything, you will actually feel withdrawal symptoms when you don't train. And that there are actually physiological reasons for that. When we train, we release endorphins, the same chemicals in our body that we get from actually eating chocolate and having sex. Endorphins, are a really positive thing. So when we train, we release endorphins. So when you miss a day of training, a lot of people say, I felt really sluggish the next day, or even that same day.
My kids go, Mum, have you actually worked out today? I think you need to go and do a workout.
That's it. Literally, it's like, yeah. And it's a withdrawal. So, suddenly it becomes a positive part of your day, as opposed to when you start, a lot of people go, all right, I better get this done. As opposed to getting up and going, I'm looking forward, not necessarily to how you feel while you're training, because a lot of people, when you're training hard, it's a struggle, and that's the idea of it. But how good you feel afterwards and throughout the day, and your energy and your overall vibe through the day. So that's the first one, is, you start to build that in. And then secondly, obviously, it just becomes so much a part of your day. With the nutrition side, particularly the way that we create our nutrition programs, that Emily puts together for our clientele, is that they gradually allow in more and more of the things that we love. We also find when you get to the end of it, you can't eat anywhere near as much food as you used to. Like, literally, your stomach is quite small, and we all overstretch our stomach when we eat. We have a tendency to eat till we're full and actually overfull. So we're stretching out the physical capacity of our stomach. By eating well and eating smaller portions, suddenly goes back to its actual original size. So you find, you can't eat the large meals you used to. By eating exceptionally clean, you also can't stomach high sugar, high fat foods, really rich foods, things like that. So you come off the far end of your program going, I actually really enjoy these foods. Oh, wow, they're actually the really healthy ones. They're the ones like, fresh seafood, or just a really beautiful cut of steak done really well, rather than having something like a massive piece of meat that's not as good quality, or, your seafood, battered and all those sorts of things. You find you just start to enjoy a better quality of food.
And it just, as you just, really talked about, it just becomes your lifestyle, and it becomes part of, how you live your life. Chief, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish.
Thank you so much for having me.
So there we go. You can have rapid results. You can maintain them. You just have to set that goal and stay motivated. Thanks again for listening to this chat with Chief. If you want more episodes of Extra Healthy-ish, we publish a new episode every morning, Monday to Thursday. For more info, head to bodyandsoul.com.au or follow us on Instagram or Facebook and DM us an idea for an upcoming episode. I'd love to know who and what you'd like to hear about. Thanks again for listening. And if you have a moment, we'd be so grateful if you could jump on and rate, review and subscribe to this podcast. And until tomorrow, stay extra healthy-ish.